Hello and welcome to the old garage number 49. I'm Wild Bill and got a couple questions. I've got some very different silliness and a cool shout out you're going to want to check out. So let's get things going on. And first question I have actually came from the old garage number 48. It was from James MacArthur. And the question is, the moment a car accident happens, lawsuits fly. In the vintage era, when there was an auto accident, what were the remedies for the injuries suffered? Were lawsuits common? Well, it's an interesting topic. In fact, probably one that's worthy of a special of itself. They were not nearly, lawsuits and such were not nearly as common. And there's kind of two reasons for that. First of all, just the culture as a whole just wasn't as litigious. Whether you're in the U.S. or elsewhere, if there was an accident, depending on the severity of the damage and injuries involved, it was quite likely that the people would just work it out on their own. And the second reason is because of car insurance. Prior to the 20th century, there wasn't much of it at all. And the earliest car insurance policies were liability only and were individually crafted policies in themselves. Insurance policies that are pretty standardized like we know today didn't come into existence until the 1930s, really. And so having someone insured was rare. Okay, which is another reason why many of these would get resolved outside of insurances, because if you get an insurance claim, well, the insurance doesn't want to pay it, they're going to go look for somebody to sue. So, and if you are insured, then hey, then you can maybe get some money out of this insurance company, and that sort of thing starts happening. But no, it just wasn't that prevalent. Once you get into the early 20th century, another thing is that cars started getting a lot faster, outside of just the racetrack, and as more and more cars got onto roads, then accidents became more common, whether it was the car ran into something or over a bridge or over a person or two cars collided or one ran into a building or whatever it was. It was, car accidents, as they became more common, car insurance became more common, and then, of course, the lawsuits, between uninsured could happen, and they did. It's not like people didn't sue, never went to court. They certainly did. Okay, it just wasn't as prevalent then as it is now. Okay, next question that I had also came from the same, the old garage, and this was from Stencil, S-T, I tried. Okay, and the question is, what's the difference between freewheeling and a clutch? Well, mechanically, there's quite a bit of difference, as well as what they actually do. Your clutch, of course, is between your engine and your transmission, and its job is to disengage the engine from the transmission so you can change the gears and then re-engage the clutch to match them up together with the actual road speed, and off you go. That's not what a freewheeling does. Freewheeling actually dates back to the turn of the 20th century with bicycles. If you've ever ridden a bicycle and you're pedaling it down, up a hill, you're riding your bike up the hill, you're pedaling hard, okay, and you get to the top of the hill and you just stop pedaling and you start coasting. That is freewheeling. It's pretty much automatic on any bicycle anymore. And it's when, technically, freewheeling is when the speed of the power drive is lower than the speed of the wheel being driven. So if you're pedaling not as fast as the wheel would want it to spin, you're just ghost pedaling, basically, or you can just stop pedaling and coast. Well, on a bicycle, that's just an automatic thing you do. In a car, that's not the case. They briefly were around in the 1930s, the option. And it was something you had to select. All right, it was, you either turned it on or you turned it off. And what the freewheeling was a special hub that was very similar to a bicycle hub that was between the drive shaft and the transmission. Okay, and when it was disengaged, it was out of the circuit, so as it were, mechanically, and now you would, your engine, transmission, and clutch operate normally. But if you engage the freewheeling, then if your car engine is working hard to get over a hill, and now you're over the hill, and you just back off the gas, okay, well, if you were in a regular car, okay, if regular, you could just change the clutch, you push your clutch in, but you could just leave the car engine engaged, and it would help control your speed while you're going down the hill. But if you're freewheeling, now you're just going to start going faster and faster and faster. And even if you do have your clutch engaged and your engine is in gear and you're trying to find a gear that will match your speed, doesn't matter. The only thing you can really do is hit your brakes until you get to a speed slow enough that your engine can engage again with the drive shaft. So it works mechanically very differently. The idea behind it and why they sold them was, number one, it was another little bullet point you could put on. And the dealers would say that, hey, freewheeling, is great for saving gasoline, because, if you're just going to coast, there's no sense in working your engine, Yeah, but the fact of the matter is that freewheeling on a car, a bicycle weighs, maybe 200 pounds with a person on it. Car is about 2 tons, and so it's going to pick up speed a lot faster than a bicycle will, and it's also going to be harder to stop. And so the brakes on early cars, that were freewheeling, just melted on the car on a long hill or something, or terrain like that, or they would catch fire and the whole car would eventually burn down. And so that's why it didn't last a decade as a feature in a car. So, but that's the difference. Okay, and those are the only questions I had. All right. Well, hey, anybody that wants a question asked, as you watch my videos, go ahead and ask it. I don't mind. But my silliness actually goes back to my community page, because every day, I've done it for about a year now, every morning I post a new quiz question, just one. I might have other stuff there too, but at least you're going to have that one quiz question, and it's something to do with automotive history, and it's a 4-question quiz, or 4-answer option. And so I went through them, and I went, okay, for all the quiz questions that I have, well over 300, I went, which are the ones that have had the most likes? Which were the most liked questions? And so here they are, the top 5 most liked questions that came from the community page. And so at number 5 with 23 likes is the following question: who invented disc brakes? Your options are this: Henry Leland, Herbert Austin, Frederick Lanchester, or Ransom Olds. Go ahead, you can make a guess. We'll ask later on who in the comments how many you got right. Who invented disc brakes? Henry Leland, Herbert Austin, Frederick Lanchester, or Ransom Olds? The answer is Frederick Lanchester in 1903. At number 4 favorite quiz question, 24 likes. Actually, it's tied for 3rd because the next 2 at 24. What was the first American make of car to have windshields as standard on all models? Was it the St. Louis, the Pope Toledo, the Studebaker, or the Oldsmobile? First one to have windshields as standard on all their cars. Okay. St. Louis, Pope Toledo, Studebaker, or Oldsmobile? The answer is Pope Toledo. Woohoo! Okay, if you got these 2 right, you're good. Okay, and also tied for 3rd with 24 likes is this question: which of these insects was not a make of vintage car? Beetle, wasp, cricket, or hornet? Okay, which of these insects, which of these bugs was not a make of vintage car? Beetle, Wasp, Cricket, or Hornet? The answer is Beetle. Although we all heard of the Volkswagen Beetle, there was no actual make of car that was called Beetle. And Beetle itself, the Beetle, was a model, not a make, and it didn't get started until 1938, which was well after the vintage era. So that was number 3. Tied for number 1 were the following 2. So we'll just put them in this order for now. Number 2, at 25 likes, in what year did Henry Ford build his first car? Was it 1896, 1899, 1902, or 1903? Okay. In what year Henry Ford built his first car? 1896, 99, 1902, 1903. Answer is 1896. Yes, his very first car. And number 1, most favorite question is, with 25 likes, which automotive engineer began his career as a professional scarecrow? Options are James Packard, Andrew Riker, Hans Ledwinka, or Henry Royce. His first job was as a scarecrow. James Packard, Andrew Riker, Hans Ledwinka, Henry Royce. And the answer is Henry Royce. Yes, of Rolls-Royce. First job he ever had was as a scarecrow. So if you like quiz questions, I mean, I do it every day over there. You're welcome to go and take a quiz question. Cool. And so, shout out. Now, this is a cool one. And I don't even know if I'm going to pronounce his last name right, but the channel is Lou Costabile. And he just goes by Lou, and he goes over all kinds of cars. And a couple months ago, he started a new series, and he's got a playlist on it. From a particular museum with all vintage veteran cars. And I mean, we're talking stuff, going back to the 19th century. And doing, going through the cars, with a historian, with a curator. And it's a cool channel, okay? If you like what I do, I think you're gonna like what he's doing. So go check out the channel. There's a link in the description below. Like and subscribe over there, like and subscribe over here if you want. I don't mind that either. But in any case, that's what I have for the Old Garage today, and we will see you next time. Peace.